What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday, and today we are having an interview with Ace from Ramen Toys, who you may have heard of. He has done a number of things, from the kind of third-party Centurions to the official/unofficial Silverhawks to the mask stuff and a whole bunch of other things, a whole bunch of other kind of 80 nostalgic toy line, third-party adjacent products. First and foremost, I want to shout out Facundo, who kind of put the bug in my ear and made the hookup between us, so to speak. I do appreciate that. That's what led to this. You may also be asking, why is this Sit Down Saturday on the public channel? And the reason is because this dude took time out of his day to sit down with me and talk about it, so it's only right that it helps promote his product. Now, this is a 25-minute segment of an hour and 40-minute interview. The hour and 40-minute interview is available on Patreon at the $5 level, where you get all the other Sit Down Saturdays, Transformers Legends reviews, Dummies Uncut, tons of other reviews, first impressions, etc., etc. Almost something every day for you. At $10, it's something every day. Sometimes two things every day. To those folks that are on the Patreon and enjoying it, please let them know in the comments whether or not you find it to be worthwhile. But I was excited to do this because of the Gloria project that he's doing. He's doing a Gloria from Mask, third party, called Great White, which has a special meaning to me, so I was excited to do it. I also want to shout out Brink. I want to shout out Dennis, who we get in close on the head sculpts for also shooting me some questions that they wanted me to ask him as well. So this is a long one, so to speak, so there's no sense in wasting a whole bunch more of your time. Let's go ahead and get started. But today we're not going to start with accessories. Today we're going to start with a quick introduction.
Ace.
Hey, Bobby.
Ace, I hear that you are pretty blunt, direct, and to the point.
I think you're here, right?
So I am too. I think this is either going to go really well or really poorly, but I think it's going to go really well.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. First of all, I want to thank you for coming on.
The pleasure is all mine, Bobby. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. So get me to ramen.
The business plan, the strategy was something that was not available in the market. And I've always wanted to emulate what the third-party companies have been doing with Transformers. But I'm not going to do a Transformer because I'm not good in doing a Transformer, right? I will only do stuff that I'm good at doing. And I will not challenge something that is already being done at its pinnacle level.
Yeah.
So I was thinking to myself that, action figure seems to be quite interesting. And, why haven't anybody done anything to the Centurions? And that was when I said, let's make a Centurion in our own stylized version. And let's see what comes of it. Let's see if people would be open to what we're doing.
So you move towards Centurions because nobody's doing that, right? It's like this obvious gap in kind of modernized versions of nostalgic stuff.
Yeah. More importantly, Bobby, again, we're trying to recreate our childhood stuff in our own vision.
Did you design this, the Centurions?
So I am actually a director. I get all the artists to do the 3D.
Okay.
And the artists' name are mentioned in our credits.
Okay.
So I credit all the artists that we work with, but I offer my input in terms of the direction.
Right.
So for example, making the 80s Commanders was as simple as I wanted to be realistic. So I want the turbine fans, the blades to be seen. I want the missiles to look like a missile. I want the flashlight to look like a flashlight. I want the antenna to actually look like an antenna. And especially the backpack of the Armor Commander. That's actually a real looking signal set. There's all the dials and everything. So I aim for modern real life examples and try to incorporate it into the design. Acting as a director, as a creative director, to make all these changes here and there.
Well, this was a crowdfunded venture, is that right?
So what happened is it's not a crowdfund because we don't really have the actual crowdfund platform and all these things. So what we did was simply we put out the prototypes. We only had Facebook as a platform. The simple video that I set up using the renders of the figures really blew up. Lots of views. I was kind of surprised and very humbled and honored. And we just said, we need to have the customers' pre-orders in before we can start to make this into fruition.
Okay.
Because again, we were already developed for R&D. We were already developed for the prototypes. That means that is how much in terms of our own funds that goes. We're not like sitting on heaps of cash. We are
Right.
basically
Yeah, I'm sure.
and that helped us, right? The community believed in us. I'm not sure if my sudden appearance on live stream helped everything. I guess it does, because again, who is this guys behind the Facebook page?
I think that was interesting because we don't really get that sort of forwardness from third party stuff that like the Transformer fans are used to. Do you know what I mean? Like it's all cloak and dagger and smoke and mirrors and under the shroud of nightfall, and you know what I mean? It's all that kind of stuff. What gave you the confidence to be bold enough to put yourself out there like that, given nuance to this stuff where, you know, there's potential consequence?
Well, I mean, life is short. Let us all face each other, because there's nothing to hide. I mean, I'm also speaking to the licensors. You know, why make it so difficult to get a license?
Yeah.
You know, they should have people there that would harness the creative talents of these people and make the brand bigger versus trying to give them cease and desist and all these things.
Right.
You know, there has to be a way to put the best people in the positions. We are not here to counterfeit, knock off, bootleg.
You're here to create.
You know, we're here. Yeah, we love the thing, and we want to be given the opportunity to license it. But they have set the bar so high that it's almost impossible for, you know, folks like myself to get an actual license.
Correct.
It's impossible. So going back to your question about what gave me the confidence, I'm very sincere about what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And although I'm not going to be gangbusters, but I'm trying to get the few people that is going to be like-minded and then believe in what I'm doing, and, you know, support me. And then if that's the case, why not show them who I am? It's as simple as that.
I respect it. Let me ask you a question. As you go into production on these Centurions, how did you choose a factory? You don't have your own factory, do you?
Oh, no.
Yeah, no. I've heard people theorize that you did, but just looking into this, the brief bit that I did before this, I was like, I don't think he does at all.
In fact, Bobby, a lot of people have misconceptions about factories. Mm-hmm. I would tell you that even Hasbro and Mattel do not own their own factories.
Right.
Okay. It's a totally different business running a factory.
Yeah.
If I had my own factory, I wouldn't be doing this. I would be looking for Bobby Vela, Super 7, and all these people to put production at my factory.
Right.
Because I need the factory to run. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So running a factory is a totally different ball game, and I would say in fact, all manufacturers of our genres don't have their own factory.
Can you speak at all to perhaps the nuance that could exist between Hong Kong factories versus Vietnamese factories versus Singaporean factories, etc.?
Well, first of all, Hong Kong, there are no factories.
Okay.
Singapore, there are no factories.
Okay, well, that makes that easy.
There are factories in Vietnam. There are factories in Philippines.
Okay.
But everybody knows that in China, in the Dongguan, that's where they make the best toys. It's about locality. It's about, you know, access to the ports, access to the materials and all these things, right? So even if you have a factory in Vietnam, they need to get the raw materials from China. So the time it takes for the materials to be sent to Vietnam, you're losing some time there. Mm-hmm. You're getting some more cost there, right? The only thing why people or companies engage other factories other than the factories in China is because of the labor costs that has been increasing in China. I would say 10 years ago, it started increasing. I would say almost 10 years ago, many companies started to look into other places like Vietnam, even Bangladesh, right? Cambodia,
Interesting.
You know, for their factory. So, but again, not every single place has the expertise to make stuff, right? To your question, what differs? China has evolved to be this hub of manufacturing. It used to be Singapore, it used to be Taiwan and Hong Kong. Right. But those are back in the day. They're gone from the face of the earth. It's changed, right? So Hong Kong became a financial hub more so than a manufacturing hub.
How do you feel about, you know, because the Centurions were the first product of ramen toys that you produced. Right. How do you feel about them, especially now, looking back, you know, a couple years ago, I guess now?
We definitely could have done them better. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this is the part of us that we would like the customer to see our progress. So you'll have one side of the camp that says, you know, get your together first before I buy your stuff, because I'm not gonna help you to be a trial and error.
Right.
On the other side, if people see that we're progressing, we are making improvements as we go and learning stuff, then it's appreciated, and I think that's the way to go. So looking back at the first 80s Commanders, I would say that it's a decent project. It wasn't too much problems. There were definitely points about articulation and fit and finish that we could have done better, and I think we have shown it with the way we have progressed to the Quicksilver. So we can definitely see how we've progressed in terms of the articulation, the sculpt, and everything.
They obviously seemed like a passion project. They lacked a little bit of sophistication, I think, was like my general thoughts on it. But that differs greatly from the Monstar that I looked at, which I thought was a knockout of a figure.
Oh, thank you.
I was confused about it. I have to be honest, because the packaging and branding threw me for a loop. So I saw Ramen Toys, and then I saw the letter X, and then I saw Super 7.
Right.
Tell me the story of Ramen Toys and Super 7.
All right. So since you asked the question, I will answer. So what happened is that, again, Ramen came out as a third-party company because we were in no position to license. Although, we thought that maybe if we did it, if there's a chance for the actual licensor to want to tell us to license, then that could be a gateway to know the licensor. And that's what happened with Silverhawks, because when we showed the renders of what we're going to do, we got a email from Brian Flynn of Super 7, and he said, hey, I own Silverhawks, and if you guys want to do it, we could do it properly. And I said, yeah, why not? We had a StreamYard meeting. He drafted a contract for us. We signed the contract, and we made the figures. Okay. But of course, unfortunately, after we signed the contract, Brian did not consummate the contract because he went silent for good many months.
Okay.
And then I obviously saw him on one of the streams that he did with, I think, Toy Bro. And Toy Bro actually asked him, what is the deal with Ramen Toy? From his response, it was giving me like eyebrows being raised, because he was telling Toy Bro that we were only going to be doing one figure and that's it, and that he doesn't know about any other figure, which is kind of strange because I have emailed him the images of Monstar as the next figure that we're going to do, and the license is signed for 2 years, which means that it would be kind of strange if we took 2 years to just do one figure. However, there is more to the story, because as Brian Flynn was silent on emails, there was nothing I could do, right? We tried to call them and we couldn't get them on the phone, and we were actually in production. We're almost going to ship, and we actually even sent, images of our packaging design to get them to approve it, but there was no response. And then when we finally said, hey, where do I send the money? And then that's when we got a response from Brian, and he said, keep the money, don't send us the money, please remove Super 7 from the packaging. There's some issues with the license with Warner Brothers, and we're sorting it out, can't say too much, so sorry. That was it. Yeah. So ultimately, what we had was a product that we thought was going to be licensed, but because there was no contract signed, the two products that we made were unlicensed.
Wow.
Which is why I am pushing forward with the Titanium Titans, because the fans want more of our designs,
right? And
they want at least the Silverhawk team to be made. So we have already shown the Metal Moselle sculpt. We think we have a nice rendition of the Copper Kid. So we're going to push ahead with the Titanium Titans, and that's the plan.
What's your average production run?
Yeah, our production run is 1,000 pieces.
Okay,
which is very, very low.
Yeah. But it would be my guess. Like 1,000 to 1,500 was my guess.
Yeah. I tell people, right? Tooling costs, prototype costs, production costs, it can all be extrapolated, right? It's not something that we can hide from the consumer these days.
Right.
Gone are the days to try to say, oh, it's so expensive, so that's why I got to charge this price. No, I got to charge this price because I can give you the facts.
Yeah.
My production run is low, and therefore my cost is high.
So then I'll say that your company, from me, it got a little harder to follow, because I feel like you had the Centurions, and then or the 80s Commanders, and then you had the Silverhawks, and then all of a sudden I feel like I'm getting hit up by numerous people telling me about various projects that you're working on. I don't know which line you'd like like to cover next. I would like to cover the mask stuff, the Machina stuff.
Okay.
A buddy of mine sent me an image of the Gloria vehicle. Shark, is it?
Right.
I was floored. He almost had an emotional reaction to it. Do you know what I mean? Because because it was always one of those, like, you never got it. So you always thought you were going to get it, but it never happened. And then once enough time had passed, then you kind of always think you're never going to get it, you know? And then all of a sudden there's this shred of hope of like, holy I might actually get one.
If we are able to incite this feeling in you, that's the whole idea. We want to give everybody that feeling.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this.
Tell me about your plans with that stuff.
So initially, I was apprehensive to do it because of the fact that the tooling can only be used for that particular vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't really do it in any other recoloration.
Right.
Right. So it means a very limited use of a tooling. So that's the main concern, right? But having said that, you know, I would probably try to make a different color and see if I can sell some.
Right.
So we priced it in such a way that, it helps us to get the finances in order.
Mm-hmm.
People said it's too expensive. I respect that. It's because we have to bear in mind that our run is 2,000 pieces, right? And, the chance of doing it again is not like for sure,
Right.
So we did that, and we put the effort into making something that looks better than what you have in the original. I mean, granted, the original toy is a classic, granted, right?
Yeah.
But if you really love this thing, wouldn't you want to see this done a little bit more accurate in terms of the shape, in terms of the functionality?
Right.
So we added the bomb base. We added locking mechanisms for when you pull out the side cannons from the door, you won't have it, droop down in time. So there's actually a locking mechanism. And then, how the wings activate with one button and then the thrusters activate with another, exactly as how you see it in the cartoon.
Right.
He obviously the figure itself, as a original having just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of articulation. Could we do it better? Could we add more articulation points? Could we make the mask, more accurate? So these are all the considerations that we put in, and we came up with what we have now.
The size of this is different than the vintage stuff. Will the Shark fit with the bigger size or the vintage stuff? Okay.
So the Great White is of the same length as the Gull Wing.
Okay.
And it's up to the collectors to decide for themselves.
Gotcha.
If they feel that it fits in their collection or not.
Right. So I heard another rumor about that stuff that I want to address with you. I heard a rumor that there was a cease and desist regarding the Machina stuff.
Yes, we received the cease and desist just about a month or two ago. We didn't get it like very early on. We were advertising this stuff back in May of last year, May or June, and we only get the cease and desist just before we're going to production. That's why there was no updates on the Facebook on the Machina Gullwing. The requests were to promote, market, obviously to sell the item. So we put it as sold out on our website.
Okay.
Right. So we complied with not selling anymore. We complied with not marketing anymore.
So is that just for that specific item, or does that affect Machina in general?
According to our own lawyers that we speak to, because we have made the packaging to be too much that looks like the original mask.
Right.
Right. So they have a point that it may confuse, because what the letter said was that it confuses people to think that our stuff might be the original. Okay.
Gotcha.
So if we had put out a different packaging, then we would have been in a better position to say that this is a third party item with a different approach.
Right. Thanks for clearing that up. But it does take me to another piece of yours, and that's this the Charger. Yours was announced on the day the campaign for the crowdfunded Hasbro one ended.
Yep.
Do you think you're poking the bear at all here?
If somebody have any thought of me poking the bear, then the person is viewing the whole thing from a different perspective and a wrong perspective. Because what I saw was an opportunity, but also there's something in me that I want to help the people who want it so much to have something.
Right.
The common denominator is that everybody wanted it, actually. It was just certain factors that prevented it being funded, whether it be the price or whether it be the fans trying to boycott this to show Hasbro that, this is too much.
Right.
So whatever the case, I don't know, whatever the case, the fact of the matter is it didn't fund.
Right.
So I can only extrapolate out of 5,000 people, could I gather at least 1,000 to 2,000 of them to make my project work? So how is that poking the bear?
I think it's an optic thing, right? So like when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is a smart move." Not in terms of its timing, but just in general, the idea is a smart idea. But I didn't care too much about the timing. But I can see how the timing could piss people off. Not necessarily normal people, but those too. But also like people that work for these companies that might plot you right in the middle of their radar.
Sure. Again, hopefully there is some soul searching. If companies were honest, it should be, you got us, we were asking for too much. On that note, maybe the Engine of Vengeance at 350 was really too much. We must do things not only for ourselves, but for the greater good. What I'm saying is, if this thing were to be costed by a ramen toy, an indie company, what would it be? That was the question I was trying to answer for the fans. So I gave you guys the answer because I am not selling it for anywhere close to 350. So if people are watching and listening, they can see the answers from in between the lines.
Yeah. I need you to explain this to me because as I'm looking at some of these, right? So the car is 200. That seems more than fair to me for what you're getting. And then the Monstar was 120, which seems perfect to me. Like that seems like a Mafex level pricing, and I feel like it's on board with that level of quality. But then I see the Centurion at 100. Looking at it from the outside without being on the inside. Explain to me the price variables there.
We started with the first batch of Commanders, which was supposed to be distinctively different. That's why they didn't have the exact hits. Right. Maybe a poor choice on our part, but again, it's a learning curve, right? So we tried to do something different, and that was the initial setup cost. And then this is really you asked, we listened. We were listening to people who wanted the original colors and better hits, and we actually took better hits and we gave them the original colors in a 3-pack. Okay. Now, as we evolved and moved into what we now have as the retro packaging, now these Commanders will be significantly smaller in quantity of production. You're talking about 300 pieces.
Okay.
So therefore, the price is priced at this level because we're making the boxes, we're making the figures, and that's the price because, the factory has a minimum price that they charge.
Right.
Whether you make, 300 or 1,000 sometimes. And that's how we derive the price.
Lower volume, higher price.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the answer. That makes perfect sense to me. With pricing usually comes you don't take a whole lot of from these people out here on the, with their comments and so forth. You get right in there and reply and plunge your hands into the filth. Why? Why bother? Why get involved with any of that?
There is a need to clarify if the person can be talked to. Yes, I understand that there are trolls, but I also understand there are concerned, serious buyers. So I am reaching out to anybody and everybody because I don't know who are the trolls.
Right.
I'm assuming everybody going to be a real customer. And when a customer asks a question or is of a informed opinion, I do my best to correct that opinion. Sometimes, again, over a written message, it can be read in a certain way that derives a different reaction
context
from the customer. If the person was talking to me and I was saying the exact same thing that I wrote, the person might have a different opinion because what I'm trying to deliver is just unfiltered truth and fact. And most people feel it's jarring to hear a truth and a fact.
Trust me, I know.
So I'm not here to piss off anybody. Why would I? Who in his right mind would piss off anybody?
Right.
But I need to, first of all, protect my brand. I need to protect our integrity, and I need to answer all questions and clarify all doubts.
Right. Talk to me about the Masters of the Verse head.
I'm a He-Man fan, as you probably noticed.
Yep.
And when Mattel came up with this thing, straight away the face stood out to me. Straight away, right? I knew what they were doing. I knew they were trying to depict Dolph Lundgren. And again, I'm not too sure what is the concern about actors' likeness. I'm not saying that I disregard that, but I'm in no position to go to get the likeness rights of Dolph Lundgren. Mattel will be in a great position. I'm not sure if the actor, like Tom Cruise, refused to license his likeness, but whatever it is, they have decided that it looks like this in terms of Mattel, on Mattel's part. Right. So I, as a fan, I introduced the Master of the Verse hits for anybody who would like to get these hits to replace their existing ones and be happy about the final outlook. That's all.
Right. So let me ask you, is there anything that you want to talk about, any of your products that you want to talk about that you're trying to, I guess, promote or get more information out there about?
Well, so we are going to be at PowerCon happening on the 10th of August in Columbus, Ohio, right? And we're going to display the test shots of the Ramen Racer. We're going to be showing off the prototypes of the Marshall. We're going to be showing off the prototypes of the Aces of Aviation, which is how we circumvent the Maverick situation. We got a cease and desist for the Maverick figure, not surprising. At PowerCon, I'll be doing an event only exclusive, meaning that only during the period of PowerCon, but don't worry if you're not there, it's also available online on our website.
Okay.
During the period of PowerCon, anybody who buys the full set of Aces of Aviation Wave 1 will automatically receive the giveaway hit and helmet and patches, stickers of the Maverick, which you can use to put onto the figure. There'll be one figure in that wave that has the same skin tone color as the Maverick, so not to worry. So you can easily take that figure out, put on the hit, put on the stickers, and you have the Maverick.
Clever. All
right, so that's what we're promoting, but only during the con, right? We're not trying to, like you said, poke the bear.
Right.
We're only trying to give it to the fans who want it. Only for 3 days. Put in your order for the Wave 1 of Aces of Aviation and you will get what you want. At the same time, the Marshall will be open up for pre-orders at a time, so you can get the Marshall. And then the Great White, of course, from Machina will be available also at the show, and you can start pre-orders then as well.
Oh, that's
And
exciting.
we also have a surprise. There will be a surprise sculpt that we'll display at PowerCon, and it is a very powerful sculpt. In fact, the most powerful sculpt in the universe.
Well, that's going to open yourself up to some dissension, I'm sure.
Right. Thank you so much, Bobby, for this opportunity to speak to you and your followers and audience. Getting for people to know more about us, retro, artistic, modern 80s nostalgia. We are Ramen Toy.
I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for being so open. And I hope that you continue to be open, but I hope it also doesn't put you in harm's way, my friend. So I plead with you to be cautious. Just, be careful out there, man.
Definitely.
And that's it. Once again, I want to thank Ace. I want to thank Facundo. I want to thank Brink. I want to thank Dennis. And I want to thank you guys. Not a whole lot else to say. I'm hoping to be back next week with an eject from MMC review, but we'll see. There's some logistics there that are out of my hands. Like I said, the uncut interview is an hour and 40 minutes. We go through his childhood, growing up in Singapore, to ventures, like licensed ventures that he had before Ramen Toys and more. So check that out if you want some more information in its raw form. And I think with that, we can get out of here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.